If you're new here, hi, I'm Ian. This is the Pro Nerd Sports Podcast. Here I just talk and give my shitty opinions about what's going on in the NFL world. Let's do some power rankings. We got some NFL power rankings to go through. Starting off at 32nd, we have the Carolina Panthers. If you're surprised by this, you have not been watching football. I didn't post it. But I want to say, for the record, the Nerd Model did predict this game on the dot. Believe me if you want. You probably don't, but it's all right. I know what I did. The Miami Dolphins defeated the Carolina Panthers 42-21. What does this mean for the Carolina Panthers? Well, one thing I have been noticing is that Bryce Young is playing significantly better than he has. He has 3 touchdowns against the Detroit Lions. He had 1 touchdown, 0 interceptions against the Miami Dolphins, and over 200 passing yards, decent completion percentage. Adam Thielen, he may be old. A lot of people wrote him off at the beginning of the season. Man has been balling. And every season this man balls, and he never gets the credit that he deserves in the slightest. But anywho, again, offensive line and defense really struggling for the Carolina Panthers. They did play the best offense in the league, and that's never a good combination. I was expecting a lot more from this Carolina Panthers team. Yes, I haven't expected them to win many games up until this point. But at the same time, 0-6 is getting embarrassing. Like, they need to start putting things together. 31st, I have the New England Patriots. Now, never in my life would I have expected that I would have had the New England Patriots ranked second to last in the NFL. After what I've seen for the first, 8 years of me watching football, all that ever happened was the Patriots would win. The Patriots were always a top 10 team throughout all of those years. We all know it, the Brady, Belichick, Gronk era. These Patriots were really good. Those Patriots are no more. Patriots fans, some of them calling for the firing of Bill Belichick. Things aren't working. Things aren't clicking in New England at the moment, and Mac Jones, despite the Bill O'Brien hire, and in the beginning, I really thought that was going to make a huge difference. I thought the Patriots were going to be on a roll. I thought Mac Jones is throwing the ball more. He looks decent. The defense looks good. This Patriots team will look so much better than it has been. And really, since the Christian Gonzalez injury slaughter that they faced against the Dallas Cowboys, this New England Patriots team has not been good at all in the slightest. Defense has been allowing a lot of points only because they've been on the field for so much, because the offense has not been able to get anything going. Moving on to 30th, we have the Chicago Bears. Great win against the Commanders the week prior, 20-point win, dropping a game against the Minnesota Vikings at home. Tough divisional matchup, but at the same time, the offense and Justin Fields really didn't get that much going at the same time. But moving on to 29th, I have the Denver Broncos. Denver Broncos, as we all know, aren't a good football team. They have 1 win against the Chicago Bears, ranked right below them. Tough loss at Kansas City on Thursday night. It's what we'd expect. Russell Wilson started to look like the Russell Wilson from last season, as far as what I remember. The defense is abysmal. Can't believe I'm saying that for the Denver Broncos, but hey, it is what it is. Moving on to 28th. I have the Arizona Cardinals. Again, Kyler Murray is practicing now. Joshua Dobbs has been exceeding expectations for the Arizona Cardinals. But again, now with James Conner hurt, the team is banged up. 28th is a good spot from what I've seen from them. They got routed by the Rams on the road last week, killed by the 49ers the week prior. Still got that good win against the Dallas Cowboys under their belt, but they did lose to the team above them, 27th, the New York Giants. The New York Giants are now my highest ranked 1-5 team. Woo! Go Giants! Go Giants! Woo! I have to say, we've all heard about it already. It was Sunday night. It was a long time ago. It's in the past. But the Giants got screwed. They should have beaten the Buffalo Bills in Buffalo. That's all I can say. I am bewildered that I said that. I'm bewildered that game was even close. Obviously, Buffalo Bills have some issues in their department, but hey, the pass defense, or okay, maybe not the pass defense, but the defense as a whole for the New York Giants looked really hasn't looked the worst in the league all season. It's just that their offense has been abysmal. Moving on to 26, we have our first 2-win team, the Minnesota Vikings. Again, without Justin Jefferson, are going to be without him for another 3 to 7 weeks. Not where you want to be. A 19-13 win on the road against a banged-up Chicago Bears team isn't the most impressive win, but again, it is really hard to win in this league, as Dan Campbell says all the time. We need to see them against a good team to really judge how Kirk Cousins and this offense is going to perform without their star wide receiver. I'm sure they will be, but they really haven't gotten anything going on the road in the slightest. Keeping them at the 26th spot. Moving on to 25th, we have the Green Bay Packers. Had a bye week last week, so not much has changed in that department. I believe they've only moved down one spot. Again, we need to see more from this Packers team. Aaron Jones will hopefully be back, at least for my fantasy team's sake. Head into next week, I believe is either Sunday night or Monday night. They have a game at the Denver Broncos. A bloodbath there. Ooh, yeah, everyone's waiting to watch that game. Packers dropping a loss to the Las Vegas Raiders, who are right above them, and I'll give them credit. They have been impressing me. So good job, Raiders. Good job, Raiders. I was severely disrespecting this team, as I tend to do. I usually tend to predict the Raiders to lose a bunch of games that they end up winning. They are now 500. Again, maybe the disrespect is continuing at having them only at 24th in the league. I think 24th is a good spot as of now for the Raiders team. Maybe if they get a win against a tougher opponent, that'll be enough to put for me to put them even higher on this list. 23rd, I'm glad they're not here for this, because the Atlanta Falcons fans, my fans that are Atlanta Falcons fans, will be going nuts. I already heard a mouthful from Steven from this, but the Atlanta Falcons lost at home, a game that I was pretty confident the Atlanta Falcons would win. They lost at home against the Washington Commanders. Sam Howell had like 3 touchdowns, didn't have a lot of yardage, but hey, Commanders won the game. Desmond Ridder made some crucial mistakes. This Atlanta offense is proving to be a hindrance. The running game really hasn't been working as much as anyone wants it to. I need Bijan Robinson to pick up the pace. I need him to be the running back that I thought he was going to be, because I drafted him in fantasy thinking he was going to be the next Saquon Barkley. And so far, I mean, he was leading the league. He was top 5 in the league in rushing yards at one point, but really the run has slowed down a lot. Teams are starting to figure out all of the Falcons' offense, which really isn't that complex to begin with. So Arthur Smith needs to start dialing some more things up. Moving on to 22nd, we have the Washington Commanders, the team that just beat the Atlanta Falcons after getting blown out by the Chicago Bears at home. One of those teams, I say it every week, it's one of those teams that how good are they? I really don't know. I can't tell you how good the Washington Commanders is. One hand, they almost beat the Philadelphia Eagles on the road in Philadelphia, which is an incredibly tough environment to win in. And then you lose at home by 20 to the Chicago Bears, the winless at the time Chicago Bears. So again, we don't really know how good this team is. Then they go on the road and beat a very good, beat a good Atlanta team. So 22nd is where the Washington Commanders are going to sit. 21st, Tennessee Titans dropped the game in London against the Baltimore Ravens. Kept it close for a little bit. Defense was really good in the red zone. Offense really couldn't get the ball moving, though, at least in the air. Derrick Henry was phenomenal, though, in that game. I think he had like 97 yards and a touchdown. Did what he had to. Wasn't the best Derrick Henry game. As we all know, he has had some monster games. But Tennessee Titans, another team we really are so unsure about. They're not very consistent at all. 20th, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers. Again, another one of those teams that is around this area every week. I really don't know how good that team is as well. One hand, they're getting blown out by the Houston Texans. One hand, they're beating the Baltimore Ravens and the Cleveland Browns. So 19th, the New Orleans Saints. Derek Carr actually had a pretty decent game against the Houston Texans yardage-wise. He had 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Saints defense has been playing great. Running game was hindered a little bit by the Houston Texans, which isn't generally a team I would think that would hinder the run game. If Derek Carr can keep producing, limit the turnovers, hold on to the ball, and the Saints can get that run game going, I feel like that and their defense can carry this team to an NFC South title. Definitely possible, but as of now, the New Orleans Saints haven't been nearly as impressive as many people would have thought. So I'm going to keep them at 19th for now. Again, another middle of the pack team, nothing crazy. Same with the Houston Texans above them. Squeezed out a very good win at home against the New Orleans Saints. Me and Faison were right. I don't think Faison is in here, but me and Faison were both right, saying that CJ Stroud was going to throw his very first interception of the game against against the New Orleans Saints, and that he did. Still won the game though, so great poise by the rookie quarterback to not let that get in his head and still squeeze out the win. Good job on him for doing that. Moving on to 17th, we all saw the Chargers lose to the Dallas Cowboys at home that was Monday night, right? On Monday Night Football. Close game. It seems like this is the same old Chargers. Beautiful roster. Plenty of playmakers on both sides of the ball, but are still unable to produce in close games and come up clutch, dropping the game at home against the Dallas Cowboys. If they want to contend for a Super Bowl or an AFC championship, something like that, they need to figure out a way to win these games. And so far, these past 2 years, they have not been able to do that in the slightest. All right, moving on to the top half of the league. Starting off with 16th, the Indianapolis Colts. Maybe a little bit high after Gardner Minshew's performance. I still think this Colts team has plenty of potential. As long as the offensive line, maybe Jonathan Taylor can start picking things up now that he's back on the team and under a new contract. Defense has been playing all right, so let's see what this a little bit of a hiccup last week. If Gardner Minshew can limit the turnovers, the Indianapolis Colts will be just fine. I feel like 16th is a very good spot to have the Indianapolis Colts. Moving on to 15th, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers obviously lost to the Detroit Lions right there. Oh, yeah. They lost 20-6. Offense really didn't get anything going. I know the Lions defense, believe it or not, has been pretty good so far this season. No production for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Every other game this season, I know that they struggled against the Philadelphia Eagles earlier this year, but other than that, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have been doing what they needed to do offensively and defensively. The defense has been pretty good. Pass defense struggled a lot against Jared Goff and the Lions and other teams this season. So if they can figure that out, they can play like they did against the New Orleans Saints, they'll easily make the playoffs. They have that edge already on the New Orleans Saints, an away win by a huge margin. We'll see what the Bucs can continue to do this season. Moving on to 14th, the Seattle Seahawks. They were in my top 10 for so long. Now I am starting to drop them a little bit, really because of that loss to the Cincinnati Bengals. Hey, the Seahawks have presented plenty of opportunities to win that game, and I was so confident in my upset prediction for the Seahawks winning that game. Obviously, they didn't come through. Really struggled in the red zone, but with that being said, I'm not worried about the Seattle Seahawks team. I still think this is a great team. I think they'll make the playoffs. They do have a very tough division, maybe some tough games coming up, but overall, I'm not worried about the Seahawks. I think they still play good enough to win that game. They didn't. 13th, the Los Angeles Rams slaughtered the Arizona Cardinals at home. I believe it was 26-9. Matthew Stafford and Cooper Kupp are back. That connection is back. I'm sure Puka Nacua owners in fantasy are suffering because of that. If the Rams can get both of them involved, Kyron Williams, their running back, is going to be out for several weeks, which is a little bit unfortunate. I don't know what they're going to do at running back. Well, the Cincinnati Bengals, all right, I'm convinced. The Bengals are finally back. 2 back-to-back wins. Joe Burrow is healed, finally back to winning form. They beat a good team, really 2 good teams in the Los Angeles Rams and the Seattle Seahawks. That has given me enough confidence to put them at 12. still keeping them under the Bills. I know the Bills have been significantly disappointing the last 2 weeks. I know, Mom, the Giants played a great game. They should have won it. But at the same time, the Buffalo Bills have no excuses to be losing to the New York Giants. The way the Giants have been playing, the way teams have been blowing them out, there's no way the Buffalo Bills should have kept that game close at all. And it was significantly close. And it's got to be because of the injuries on the defensive side of the ball. Bills are significantly inconsistent. They need to figure out if they're going to contend. Because, a couple weeks ago, the Buffalo Bills had 3 consecutive blowout wins. And we're all thinking, oh, this is the Super Bowl team. This is the team that's going to the Super Bowl. Hell, they beat the Miami Dolphins when they were fully healthy. So, Buffalo Bills need to figure something out on defense. Don't know when Matt Milano and company come back. But Buffalo Bills need to figure out if they want to contend in the AFC. Now, this is something that no one's going to like. I'm sticking by it, though. The New York Jets, without Aaron Rodgers, with Zach Wilson as their starting quarterback, as of right now, are a top 10 team. That defense is starting to play just like it did last season. It's phenomenal. They just beat the defending NFC champions, really because of the defense. The offense wasn't rolling as much, but that's all right. They should have been, or they came, I won't say should have, but they came extremely close to beating the Kansas City Chiefs. They beat the Philadelphia Eagles. That's almost 2 Super Bowl teams that they have beaten. They beat the Buffalo Bills at home week 1 with all the Bills starters in place. I guess they lost to the New England Patriots, which is never a good thing, but it's the New York Jets. That always happens. They got blown out by the Dallas Cowboys, which is the team right above them. But other than that, the Jets have really not been that disappointing. And this team fluctuates so much. You see some power rankings where they're almost near the bottom 5. And then I think this is the highest I've ever seen anyone put the Jets so far this week. Give me the Jets at 10th. I'll take that heat. I'll take the heat. I'll take the heat for that take. Moving on to the Dallas Cowboys, number 9. Great win on the road at the Los Angeles Chargers, proving that the Dallas Cowboys can hang with the big boys, or they can compete. I wouldn't consider the Los Angeles Chargers an elite team by any means, but the Dallas Cowboys, the Chargers are a good team. The Dallas Cowboys went on the road and pulled off that win in a close win. We saw that fan there. Tough environment, believe it or not, for the Dallas Cowboys. They got that win. So good on them. Still need to play better against the big dogs. So we'll see what happens. They have a bye week coming up next week. Maybe they get to rest and think it over. And then they got a game against the Los Angeles Rams in Dallas, which should be a fun one. So we'll see what happens then. Moving on to the top 8 teams in the NFL. We have at 8th the Cleveland Browns. Obviously, they beat the San Francisco 49ers, number 1 team in the league, with their backup quarterback. So many people were telling me the Browns were too high in my previous rankings, and I'm standing by this. This defense has been the best defense thus far in the NFL this season. That's not an opinion. That is a fact. That is, if you look at yards per game, the Cleveland Browns are first in defense. Now, their offense is a completely different story. P.J. Walker, Dorian Thompson-Robinson are not guys that are going to get the job done for you. They're going to have to rely on this defense, although Deshaun Watson's, I believe it was a shoulder injury, is trending up, so I believe that he is getting better. There is a very good chance that he makes his return this week against the Indianapolis Colts. We'll see what happens, though. We don't want to rush it. And hey, if this team can beat the 49ers without him, they could probably beat the Indianapolis Colts without him. Just the thought. Moving on to 7th, we have the Browns' divisional rival, the Baltimore Ravens, grinding out a good win against the Tennessee Titans. Weren't very good in the red zone, but as far as getting stuff done in the air, Lamar Jackson, especially with him scrambling and getting out of the pocket, dual threat guy. Ravens are now a dual threat team. I mean, they have been. Come on, not now, but they have been. This is a good team. This is a very good football team. So moving on to the Jacksonville Jaguars, who this team, they had a very slow start to the season. I know because I have so many Jaguars on my fantasy teams, and it's been pissing me off. But Travis Etienne has been playing phenomenally. We just need Trevor Lawrence to start reciprocating that. Christian Kirk's been great. Calvin Ridley has been Evan Ingram has been great. Jaguars offensive line has been great. And oddly enough, this Jacksonville Jaguars defense is shocking me. I thought they were still going to be bad like they usually are. They are impressing me. They had a great, outstanding game against the Indianapolis Colts. Yes, Gardner Minshew was the quarterback, but again, he has the ability to win games. Jaguars did what they needed to do. They did what they needed to do against the Buffalo Bills, and they did what they needed to do against the Atlanta Falcons. So 6 is where the Jaguars go. They've gotten big wins against good teams. Moving on, 5th, the Philadelphia Eagles. Jalen Hurts. This is the top 5 team. This is the top 5 team. First loss on Sunday against the New York Jets, very very narrowly in the bottom, but Jalen Hurts threw the game away. Jalen Hurts has not been playing like the way Jalen Hurts did last season. He should not be considered as of now an MVP candidate. He has not been playing like an MVP, turning the ball over way too much. Now the Eagles offense has been fine. They've been getting a lot of stuff going on the ground with DeAndre Swift and others. Defense has been also looking shaky. At least the secondary. Heard reports that the Philadelphia Eagles might be looking to sign some extra help in that secondary, but teams have been exposing them in that department. They got a date with the number 1 offense in the Miami Dolphins, so that will be interesting to see, because I'm sure if any team is going to expose that part of the Philadelphia Eagles, it will be the Miami Dolphins. 4th, I'm putting the Kansas City Chiefs. Yes, I know who you see above it. I know you're calling bias, and there probably is a lot. Yeah, there is. But Detroit Lions beat the Kansas City Chiefs in Arrowhead. That's all I'm saying. That's why I was like, I can't have the Lions directly under the Chiefs when they beat them on the road. Kansas City Chiefs, though, Patrick Mahomes has not been looking like himself. He has been turning the ball over a lot more than he has been in any other game throughout his career. Patrick Mahomes just hasn't been looking like himself. I mean, the Chiefs are winning games. They're on a 4-game win streak. They did just beat the Denver Broncos, and we know the Denver Broncos are not a good team. But I'm not convinced this team is going to go back to the Super Bowl and win. I'm not convinced yet. But anyways, we gotta move on. We gotta move on to the huge elephant in the room. I know people saw it right from the get-go. This is probably the highest I have ever ranked the Lions. Wow, 3rd best team in the league. And I just want to say, they beat the Kansas City Chiefs. They beat the Kansas City Chiefs on the road. They have more points scored than the Philadelphia Eagles. And they've conceded less points than the Philadelphia Eagles. Number 1 run defense. I'm not convinced that Detroit. I'm not going to be the guy that says the Detroit Lions beat the Miami Dolphins. I am not. I'm not going to say that. They beat the Denver Broncos by 50 points. We'll see what... I don't know. I mean, I doubt the Lions and the Dolphins will ever play each other. The Miami Dolphins, number 2, fair enough, had one bad game against the Buffalo Bills, have been rolling ever since. And number 1, not the Houston Texans. Number 1 is the San Francisco 49ers. Yes, they lost last week to the Cleveland Browns. Yes, they lost last week to a backup quarterback. But hey, Jake Moody missed that game-winning field goal. If he did that, it would have been just a dream. None of this speculation would have ever happened. Brock Purdy looked a little bit normal. Obviously, Christian McCaffrey and Deebo Samuel got hurt. Obviously alters the game of the San Francisco 49ers and definitely makes it harder to win than it has been in the past. But despite all of that, I am still convinced that the San Francisco 49ers are the best team in the NFL. They have a date on Monday next week against the Minnesota Vikings, so we'll see what happens.